Welcome. I'm glad you're interested in the opportunities provided by the impact one amazing company is quietly having on the health of millions of us around the world. But before the good news can be appreciated, we have to understand the bad news, which impacts everyone's physical health. Pollutants, toxins, mutations, radiation, viruses, bacteria compromise our health. Few of us are in a position to tend and survive solely on our own gardens and herds. I don't have a herd of cattle, and I don't know if you have a herd of sheep, but soil depleted of natural nutrients cannot produce foods capable of keeping us healthy. Nutrient values have dropped 50%. Now you can go to weeksglobal.com and click on Documents and click on Show Health, and all these facts you can reread at your own leisure. But it's spooky what's happened. The body turns all this sugar, these are pyramids of sugar cubes in a can of Coke or bottle of Coke, etc., and it's turned into massive amounts of fat. Radiation destroys the nutrition in foods and produces carcinogens. Even organic, if harvested green before ripening, will still lack sufficient nutrition. Improperly cooked, processed, refined junk and fast foods don't promote health. Synthetic additives, GMOs, irradiation, chemicals, dyes, and colorings are harmful. Organic now includes antibiotics and pesticides. Who really eats and can afford the price of 14 minimum recommended daily allowances of fruits and vegetables? Food's not enough. Doctors and many of us supplement. This was from Scientific American, the old food pyramid and the new food pyramid. And this white bottle intrigued me. It's supplements. The scientists, the doctors, medical experts are now saying you have to supplement. In fact, the Journal of the American Medical Association said it's no longer possible to get all the nutrients necessary in our standard diet to maintain optimal health. It appears prudent for all adult Americans to take supplements. So the message is we better be taking supplements. But how real are your vitamins? I mean, you have two plant sources for vitamins. You have garden plants here, and of course you have chemical plants in New Jersey. Now, of course, the source doesn't change the structure. That's still the chemical structure for vitamin D3, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin B12, and they have the hydrogen, the nitrogen, and the oxygen. Those are all gases. But what's the source of the carbon? Well, if it's a synthetic man-made supplement, they use tar and petroleum, and certainly that's all natural, but it's not food. Well, maybe a little petroleum is good for constipation, but on the other hand, they did a study with 18,000 smokers, and they gave them vitamin A and vitamin E, and they were excited to see how fast they would get results. And sure enough, a 28% increase in the incidence of lung cancer, a 17% increase in death, higher rate of cardiovascular mortality. The trial was ended 21 months earlier than planned because too many people were getting in trouble. They thought, well, this must be a fluke. No, it's not a fluke. They did a meta-analysis of 47 clinical trials published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And the upshot, the conclusion, you're wasting your money. In fact, it's worse than taking nothing at all. There's no benefit. Beta-carotene increases heart disease and lung cancer. Alpha-tocopherols increase strokes. If they're synthetic. That's a mistake they made. You see here, synthetic? Of course, the body needs vitamin A and vitamin E, but it needs it from plant sources. Man-made supplements from tar, petroleum, and rocks are natural. They may be 7% useful, but they're 93% harmful. And we won't even touch on the fact that some supplements are really prescription drugs. So what you might want to do is preheat your oven to 350 and put a couple of the vitamins you're presently taking on a rip of aluminum foil. And then put them in the oven for 15 minutes. If your kitchen starts smelling like a refinery or a gas station, when you pull out your vitamins, if they've gone from how they originally looked to where the tar and the petroleum is bubbling to the surface, you might want to reconsider, because that's not meant to be eaten. And some people think, oh, it's just roast, just scorch the surface. Cut through it and see how gooey and black the inside is as well. If you roast almonds, you get roasted almonds. If you roast a turkey, your kitchen smells good, like you're cooking food. If you roast our stuff, Phytomatrix, they just turn a little brown. Same with our Manna Bears. But Flintstones, I guess, turns into a puddle of petroleum. Or sugar. And what's sugar supposed to be doing in our vitamins? In any case, ProEvity, third-party laboratory, evaluates vitamins and minerals. They took a look at the comparisons when it came to all natural or whole food source vitamins and mineral claims, and standardized all natural vitamins complexes with labeled sources, and the same with plant source minerals with labeled sources, and then additional phytonutrients. You're probably familiar with Avocare and Centrum, and I think that is Nutrilite and Neva and USANA and Herbalife and Juice Plus and Pharmanex, and there's Melaleuca, One A Day, there's us, Prime Essentials, Relive, Shaklee, Standard Processing, etc. And we're the only company offering real food technology. Good, 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 good. Without sufficient nutrition from safe supplements or vine-ripened food, our quality of life will be impacted. Already we see around us a decrease in the health and wellness of those we love. It's only getting worse, hitting closer to home, isn't it? Drugs and medication don't address the cause, which is a lack of nutrition. Drugs, resulting in bad side effects, only deal with symptoms. Quit medication in 5 years and the problem could still be there unresolved. Chemo, radiation, and surgery too often make things worse, weakening our immune system and healthy cells. Few recover their health. Most are resigned to dismally manage their slippery slope. Indeed, our healthcare system, ranked 72nd in the world, is now the #1 killer of Americans. Now, this is kind of interesting because most Americans can't name 71 other foreign countries, and we're 72nd when it comes to dealing with diseases. For example, you don't get cancer because you're chemotherapy deficient. So throwing a drug or a medication at a nutritional problem is not going to solve the problem, because the body runs off nutrition. And sure, we're still #1 in the world when it comes to emergency room care, trauma care. If you get in a car accident, pray that you're in the United States. But we're not so good when it comes to other stuff. And in our healthcare system, kills unnecessarily almost 1 million people every year. It's called iatrogenic, which means medically induced. It's the equivalent of 22 Frontier Airlines jets crashing every day. And how come no one protests? Well, because before the doctors will treat you, you sign your life away. And that's what happened with Beverly. We went to an estate sale in Wheat Ridge, Colorado in September, and you could get some great deals, a box of light bulbs for $1 and things like that. And I came across this congratulations, this award to Beverly, who completed 7 cycles of chemotherapy. And guess whose estate sale it was? Well, there is some good news. Until improvements are made in the mass production of food, you can't get what your body craves from food-sourced concentrated nutritional supplements. If you don't take the supplements that are offered, then you're going to get sick because our food's not sufficiently nutritious to keep us from all the toxins and the pollutants in the air, soil, and water that we were talking about. We offer an exclusive on bioavailable minerals from hydroponically grown, flash-dried Indian mustard. Popeye did not chew on nails for his iron, he ate spinach. And that's what we should be doing too, not iron filings that when they say fortified with iron or enriched with iron, it's just metal filings. We can't process that. We don't have enzymes. I don't know if this is a hard concept, but basically we're not supposed to eat dirt. We let the plants eat the dirt, and then we eat the plants, or we eat the cows that eat the plants, but we're not supposed to eat the dirt. And hydroponically basically means we have these slurries in greenhouses where we can control the quality of the air, the purity of the water, the cleanliness of the minerals. We know what the assay will be because we control the input. And these plants turn it into real food. Then we flash dry and powder the plants, and that's what you're getting for your minerals. Calcium, for example, is just powdered sidewalk. It's limestone. You don't want to eat that. You want to eat what the plant is converted into food. We also have an exclusive on standardized and effective amounts of vitamins sourced from real food. The acerola cherries, the wild Australian bush plum, things like that. And an exclusive on a synergistic blend of antioxidants, providing the most varied and most powerful ORAC protection available. ORAC stands for Oxygen Radical Absorption Capacity, which measures the capacity of any of these free radicals, any of these antioxidants. There are about 90 that are marketed worldwide to handle these, neutralize these dangerous free radicals that cause oxidative stress, make your DNA vulnerable to cancerous attacks or oxidative stress, that sort of thing, wrinkles and everything else. And so it's important. And the average is 1,719. Ours is 17,254. It's 10 times more powerful protection than anywhere else you go. Then we took the vitamins, this powder we call Phytomatrix, and we turned it into 2 chews that give you the nutritional equivalents of, in terms of vitamin A, 2½ apricots, vitamin C, ½ a lemon, vitamin D, 4 cups of milk, vitamin B12 of 60 ounces of chicken. If you know somebody that's pregnant, they need folic acid beforehand, and it better be bioavailable. And if you were going to get all this stuff at the supermarket, we went to Papa Joe's in 2009, and we got 2½ apricots for whatever that is, about 83 cents, and then some 5 carrots and what that cost. And you add it all up, and it's $51.44 worth of food if your stomach could even hold it all, versus $1 for 2 of these phytobursts. So the package for $31 would give you the nutritional value of $1,543.20. And so there's really no comparison. It's a wonderful pick-me-up in the afternoon, etc. Keeps you healthy. And by the way, if people have come to you with Tahitian noni juice or Mona V and all this baloney, don't be fooled by the hype and marketing of fancy bottled formulas, which focus on ingredients rather than the finished pasteurized product, which oxidizes during the manufacturing process, and while dissolved in the H2O, there's the oxygen to oxidize it, and the difference is unbelievable. This is, Juice Plus with hardly any oxidative value, ORAC value, compared, for $30 a bottle. These are all about $30 a bottle, compared to Welch's grape juice in the supermarket for $5 a bottle. And then you compare the grape juice with our stuff, and again, there's no comparison. So it's important to have minerals made out of food, vitamins made out of food, and an antioxidant that is very powerful. But an exclusive on glyconutrients makes the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, etc. even more effective. We're the only company in the world that can legally market these glyconutrients. MIT's Technology Review Journal in Massachusetts and Cambridge listed the 10 emerging technologies that will change the world. How'd you like to be in on something that will change the world and you have a monopoly? The technology won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1999, 2000, and 2001. And this is how it works. There are 6 things that are essential for health, and you know what essential means, and probably number 1 is to keep breathing. You need the oxygen. Number 2 is probably water. Coca-Cola is not a substitute. You need 72 trace minerals, 26 vitamins, 3 of those essential fatty acids like the omega-3s, 9 amino acids to make enzymes and proteins, and we've known this for years. We have total cereal, fortified milk, enriched bread, And yet more and more of our friends are getting sicker and sicker at a younger age. And it seems like there's a hole in the theory. Something was missing, and we discovered you need 8 glycoconjugates. Glyco is a Greek word that means sweet, so technically we're talking about sugars, but these 8 have nothing to do with diabetes, nothing to do with energy. They're the letters of the alphabet that make for cellular communication, and if you arrange them properly or conjugate them correctly, these sugars on the surface of the cells, if you ever studied a foreign language and you conjugated the verbs to get the imperfect tense, the future tense, the past tense, we're arranging these sugars like clusters of grapes to spell out messages on these protein stems that coat all the surface of your cells, making them bumpy. And then your immune system reads the bumps, the way a blind person reads Braille, to see if it's a good guy or a bad guy. So it comes up to a cell and it reads the bumps and it might say, I'm a cancer cell, I'm out of control, please destroy me. Or it says, I'm a good guy, I belong here, send more water. But that's important. I mean, anything growing in your body today that doesn't belong there, you want your immune system to be able to spot it and get rid of it. But in the average American diet, we're down to 2 of the essential 8. And that's like a blind person trying to read a sheet of Braille with 75% of the bumps missing. How's that going to work? It's not going to work. And so if it comes up to a cell it can't recognize and the message is blah, 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 then it's in a dilemma. Because it can only do one of 2 things. It can either say, I'm not going to worry about it, it's not a big deal, I'll let it go this time. Or it says, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Let's destroy this unknown cell. And it does so. But what if it turns out to be a good guy? What if it destroys too many of the good guys? And you end up with an autoimmune problem. Does that mean your immune system is too powerful and we need to give it drugs to kind of destroy it? So you're susceptible to pneumonia and other issues? No, it's neither too strong nor too weak. It's exactly where it should be. It's just confused. And weakening it doesn't solve the problem of confusion. And so when I think about communication, I think about the letters of our alphabet, our English alphabet. And I don't know if your English teacher ever told you that, but from just these 4 strokes of the pen, you can get every letter in the alphabet capitalized or small. For example, a capital A is one of these strokes and another one, 2 of these strokes, and the small one. A small a is one of these and one of these. There you go. Small s is 2 of these, one this way and one this way. And you can get K's and B's and T's and F's and R's and M's, but you need all 4 strokes in the right place. If I go like this, you might think I'm saying cat. But that's because this bottom stroke is in the wrong place. It should be right here. Not that I'd be saying eat, but I'd be saying fat. Is that cool? So fat, eat, or cat, it's all the same word depending on where you put the last stroke. But what if you're missing a stroke? What if it's not even in your diet anymore and is crucial? And I want to send you an important message, or you want to send me an important message, and here it is. And that stroke is missing. It's not available. How am I going to read this? How am I going to know you're trying to say, I need help? And if you need help, it's important that your body knows it. There's an analogy. But before I get to that, let me ask you this question. If I could give you 10 cents on every bottle of vitamin C that sells in your state this year, that'd be a good deal. You'd make some money. What if I made it nationally? Ooh, or internationally. That'd be even the best. And what if I gave you all 26 vitamins in that category? You know, I'd turn that down if you'd give me this, all 8 glycoconjugates, and that's what we have. It's unbelievable the position we're in because we have a monopoly on the operating system of the body. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the analogy. How many different computer software programs are there in the world? Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. Okay, how come one company, Microsoft, is so huge and so wealthy? Because Microsoft has the software that runs a computer, and everybody else's software runs on their operating system. Good position to be in. The guy that figured that out ought to be pretty wealthy. Here's the analogy. How many of your well-intentioned friends can send you to this site? How many different nutritional products there? Herbs and everything else. Hundreds of thousands. But Manatech has a software that runs the body. And if your command control central headquarters goes down, you can take all the rest of this stuff till the cows come home. But if your body can't recognize it and properly utilize it, it's wasted money. So, Lord forbid, next week, if you hear that one of your friends has prostate cancer or breast cancer, just found out, you'll understand that it's not necessarily an immunological problem so much as a communication breakdown. Because theoretically, she could have the most powerful immune system in the world, a really strong immune system, but if this incredible immune system can't recognize the cancer. The American Medical Association awards educational credits to doctors, nurses, and medical professionals for studying why our stuff works. If you don't have it, you have a communication breakdown. You can reestablish proper communication because, like a computer with lots of software or a body with lots of good nutrition, nothing happens if communication goes down, resulting in a confused operating system. Here are your cells on an electron microscope. You see how they look all fuzzy? Except for the cancer cell. That's what your body needs to be able to recognize. Now, I don't know if you're aware of your blood type. Most people are aware that if they get the wrong blood transfusion, it can kill them. You know the difference between O, A, and B blood types? 1 sugar. N-acetylneurominic acid for type A, and galactose for type B, and O doesn't have one, and that's why it's a universal donor. But if you get the wrong blood, if you get that 1 sugar, it can kill you. That's how powerful this stuff is. Helps you identify bacteria, reestablish clear communication, and it's wonderful and absolutely amazing what can happen. Scientific American, here's one cell, here's the other cell. See how the telephone lines go through? And that's how your body can identify toxins and viruses and bacteria and communicate with other cells. Science is probably the top scientific journal in the world. They call them glycoproteins, the protein stems coated by all these sugars. Scientific American, sweet medicine, and RX out of white sugar cubes. Of course, that's the wrong kind of sugar, but we're in the PDR. And there it is. If you remember your Greek mythology, the food of God or God's food was ambrosia. And if it's an enzyme, you add an ACE like lactase. If it's a sugar, you add an OS like glucose. And so it's ambrotose. And unbelievable what this stuff does. After only 6 months, doctors, scientists, U.S. patent officers, and the rest of us are blown away by results. For example, Dr. Ben Carson, you may be familiar with him. He's a most incredible brain surgeon in history. He was a director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore and separated the Bender twins from Germany, the Siamese twins that were connected by the brains, and they both lived. But Dr. John Rollins was the director of the U.S. Patent Office, the Division of Bioactive Compositions, and he claims glyconutrients are head and shoulders above anything else. In fact, he was interviewed by a reporter at the Atlanta Voice after he retired 20 years later, and the reporter asked him a lot of really good questions. But this one was a humdinger, and this is what he asked him. During your 20-year career in the patent office, did you examine any single discovery in bioaffecting compositions that stood out above the rest in its potential to impact the future of health? A great question. Basically, hey doc, what's the most amazing thing you've seen in 20 years? And here's his response. Yes, there have been many significant discoveries, but one stands head and shoulders above the rest. The discovery of a new category of vital nutrients called glyconutrients. This discovery might provide the single biggest opportunity to impact health from both ends of the spectrum. First, glyconutrients are essential for normal defense functions, making them one of the strongest and best strategies for reducing the risk of disease. You know anybody who's healthy and they don't want to get sick? Second, They are also necessary to support the normal functions of repair, making them one of the most critical strategies for supporting the body's normal healing functions. Do you know anybody who's sick and would like to improve their health and their wellness? Dr. Goen looked at me when he spent the night in our guest room before going up the stairs. He was 94 years old, something like that. He said, "Nat, you remember that I graduated from medical school in 1937 before penicillin, and then after World War II, when it became available?" He said to me, "This is more significant than penicillin. I've helped more patients in the last 6 years than in the previous 60. And the hair stood up on the back of my neck. It's unbelievable what we have our hands on. The exceptional 6-month 100% satisfaction guarantee or all money returned is unmatched and possible because science has proven over 20 years the effectiveness of all our products. There's no financial risk, in other words. Nothing to lose, everything to gain if you take this stuff. The improvement in your health and wellness could be absolutely stunning. Why does it work? Time magazine had an interesting article on epigenetics, and they've discovered that the epigene impacts on the genes. Now, you can't change your chromosomes, but how they're expressed, how they're lived out, is impacted by the epigene, and that is impacted by these glycoconjugates and other aspects of your diet and your environment. And what's the first thing you'll probably notice? A lot more health in terms of energy and less mind fog. Anybody want energy and less mind fog? See, what's happening right now is if we're deficient and we're not getting the essential missing 6, then the body says, please eat more sugar. You got to eat more sugar. And do you know any Americans that have sweet teeth? We've become pretty much the most obese nation on earth because we're eating cakes and donuts and soda and all this pasta, high glycemic, and it's turning it all into the wrong kind of sugars. And so then the body panics because it needs this stuff. And it says, this isn't working. I'll just have to take the bad sugars that you're eating and convert them into the missing 6. So this process is absolutely exhausting. It comes down here and goes across over to here to make xylose and fucose and mannose, and every step of the way you're burning ATP, which are units of energy, and you're using up enzymes, and this process continues while we're sleeping, which is why people don't sleep very well anymore. And then we wake up and we can't get out the front door without a second cup of coffee. I mean, this is insane. And so when you finally provide for the body what it needs in terms of the missing sugars, it can finally relax. And all of a sudden, instead of burning out your metabolism, you have a lot less mind fog and a lot more energy. Now let me talk about the company for a moment and our mission. Manatech near Dallas was founded in 1994. It's the undisputed leader in real food supplementation. The integrity undergirding the leadership is matched by the science undergirding the products. There's Sam, our founder, with his wife, Linda. They've adopted 5 children from different continents. Manatech invested in the finest labs and computer systems, enabling a seamless global downline. We have real laboratories, by the way. Well, most supplement companies don't. But our graduate schools, medical centers, and students working on their PhDs team up with our researchers. The business took off because people got results. Business Week ranked us number 12 out of their best 100 hot growth companies. Forbes magazine listed us the best of their best, listed Manatech number 5. Manatech's reputation grew, the value of the opportunity, and the shares of the stock. And guess whose attention we caught? I don't know what you think about the big pharmaceutical industry and the monopoly they want to maintain, and how they're in bed with the medical establishment and the FDA. They don't like us. And so the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act permitted companies for the first time to share their research, to educate the public. We could never do that. Companies in the United States could never do that. They could always market, but we couldn't educate. So if somebody had cancer, if we had data and information on lupus, Crohn's disease, diabetes, MS, and etc., we could actually share it. For the first 10 years, it was unbelievable what was happening. We were growing phenomenally because people were getting great results and friends were telling their friends. Well, that caught the attention of the big pharmaceutical industry, and they didn't like it. They didn't want us to get well. They wanted to be able to manage our illness and just milk the insurance companies and milk us for as much as they could. And, you know, they follow the dollars. But in any case, they contacted their person at the Dallas Morning News, I think it is, the newspaper in Dallas. And he wrote a scathing editorial saying the company's a fraud, the whole thing's a ripoff, it's a sham, the products don't work, it's completely bogus and a ripoff. And the Attorney General ought to know, because we've been in business at that point, I think about 15 years. Well, how could we be in business for 15 years if we had a product that didn't work? Number two, how could we have gotten a patent? We have over 100 patents on products that don't work. And number three, how do you get listed on the NASDAQ as MTEX if our stuff's no good? But he was running for re-election that fall, so nobody was surprised when he came knocking on the door. Well, he couldn't shut us down because we were abiding by DSHEA, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. But he got very creative. I'll give him credit for that. He went back to 1787 when, as you recall from your 9th grade civics class, the states got together and set up the federal government. And at that point, they delegated certain rights to the U.S. Constitution, but they reserved other rights for themselves. And in Texas, we were told, they've reserved the right to deal with health and wellness, so they don't care about it, the federal law. Well, if we'd been sued by the FDA in a federal court, we would have won because we were abiding by federal law. But we couldn't win in a state court. So there was a lawsuit, and people will still find it on the internet and get all freaked out. They mention it to me. I say, well, did you read to the conclusion? How was it resolved? Did anybody win or lose? Well, the lawsuit was settled. There was no finding of liability. There were no fines or penalties. We simply agreed not to be talking in terms of diseases, making disease claims or claims of with health and wellness sort of things. Curing. We can't tell anybody this will cure anything. That'd be uncompliant. I think most people are finding that the products themselves are also non-compliant. They don't know better, but in any case, that's how things were left, and we were still in business. And we were able to discredit our critics scientifically who claimed that this stuff, there was no glycosylation going on in our bodies and things like that. So we were still in business after the lawsuit. So then these lies were circulated. Ronald Schnarr and Hudson Freeze have good credentials as biochemists, and they put together a 5-page letter that they circulated to their peers at Merck and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson in Germany and Japan around the world, saying that we've got to discredit Manitech, we've got to shut Manitech down. And fortunately, a friendly spy got a copy of the letter and sent it to Sam, and Sam shared it with us. And I said, Sam, I need a copy, and it's on our website, weeksglobal.com, under documents in this section, this show mission. So here it is. And sure enough, the very first paragraph, misrepresented, half-truths, a veneer of scientific legitimacy, pseudoscience. So by the time you get to page 3, you're convinced that they're right. This company is a sham or ripoff. Don't get close to it. Don't get involved with it. Certainly don't take the products. They're a complete waste of money. But by page 3, they made their first mistake. If all of their claims were true, why is it unfortunate that we have a useless patent on stuff which doesn't work? Well, what do you mean? Here's what they said. Unfortunately, Manitech has received U.S. patent protection for saccharides as dietary supplements. They know it works. And then they made their second mistake. They told you that if you Googled U.S. patent number 6929807 and turned to the last page, page 14 I think it is, you might understand their concern. Now I can't send you there. I can't legally show you our own patent. But you can find out why. I can show you the research of the big pharmaceutical companies, not on our stuff, but on other glycoconjugates. And if you Google glycoconjugates in AIDS, which I did in 2010, there were 50,800 scientific trials and studies, medical trials and studies. I thought that was a huge amount of research for something they didn't want to tell the public about because it's natural and cheap. I went back 2 years later in 2012, and it had gone from 50,000 to 300,000. 2 years later, 2014, why don't you try Googling glycoconjugates and AIDS? See what you come up with. Or blood pressure. Or breast cancer, from 17,000 to 306,000 to a lot more than that today. Or depression, or Crohn's disease, or any of these others, cardiovascular, chemotherapy, cataracts, arthritis, from 50,000 to 288,000, HIV, Hodgkin's disease. And then on the last page, they conclude with an unbelievably revealing admission. I cannot believe they put this in writing. Last paragraph. So why should the public support costly biomedical research when the cure to every disorder is already in a bottle of powder they can purchase online? How many disorders do our enemies claim this will cure? Every disorder. In this article, Glyconutrients, the most controversial discovery in modern healthcare, Dr. John Rollins, 10 years later, from the U.S. Patent Office, declares that he's never seen such a determined effort to destroy a company, and that Manitech has scientifically refuted all these lies, which are still up on the internet to frighten your friends. I'll tell you, if you Google Manitech, there are 20 great reports and 1 negative. Which one does everybody click on? But we do indeed have ulterior motives. Our ultimate goal is to end childhood diseases and deaths from malnutrition in the United States where kids are overfed, and in third world countries where kids are underfed. We're already blessing, last count, over 950 orphanages in 89 countries, including the United States. We have a very special mission to fulfill, a great calling, and a wonderful legacy to leave our children. And it's just like Tom's shoes. Blake Makowski started Tom's Shoes. You buy a pair of these trendy canvas shoes, they can afford to give a pair away. And so we're asking people just to make the switch. And Manitech will match your purchase with a donation to children in need. You see, 1 child dies every 6 seconds. That's 14,000 today, 5 million this year. And we know that there are already 500 million customers taking harmful supplements. And we're asking just 1% of you guys to switch to healthy ones without tar and petroleum or sugar. And then we'll be able to match you and 5 million customers with 5 million orphans, ending death from malnutrition, and we'll even pay you to help us do so. Churches can be involved. People can get involved through their church, open an account. We don't sell anything. We don't collect any money. We don't take any orders. We don't deliver any products. We can help you open your own account as either a member, like a customer, such as at Sam's Clubs or Costco, that sort of a thing, where you get a bit of a discount, or as an associate champion, if you're interested in making money. So, would you switch if your health improved in a noticeable fashion, guaranteed? If it were financially worth your while? if your church and nonprofit benefited? And if doing so saved the life of a child, and perhaps your own life? I hope so. Get back to the person that gets you this information.